Alright, here we are at my fake version of Grand Central, and this is built in the Redstone Playground testing area of the server. And it does everything that Grand Central does, and it's all built the exact same way. The only difference is that it's all placed out in the open, on colored wool, and should make a good demo station. And I'm actually going to take it apart for the most part and rebuild it right here on the video so you can see exactly what to do. So the very first thing we looked at before was the cart loader. And that's exactly what we have right here, a manual cart loader. When you stand on this pressure plate, there's a sticky piston there, and it quickly withdraws and pulls that block back. It makes kind of a nice little drawer, so your users only really have access to this part here to load a cart. So you drop one in and it gets carried away. And the way that works, for those who don't know, when you have a block and powered rail next to it, if you put a cart there and it's stopped up against a barrier, it will start moving the other direction. Now what's happening up there is I have overflow protection partially built, but not finished. And so this cart is bouncing around everywhere, so we're just going to break this corner here. And we'll go up there and take a look at what's going on. This is the cart stack that you saw in Grand Central. It's the exact same thing, and it's the reason that Grand Central is so big. And up here you have a full stack of carts. And these signs are talking about overflow protection, and this is exactly what I do at Grand Central. You come up here with powered rail, then you leave one space of regular rail, and then one more of powered rail. This cart here acts as a barrier and does exactly what the manual cart loader does down at the bottom. When a cart comes up, it rests against here and comes to a stop, but because it's on powered rail against a barrier, it starts moving the other direction. And that sends it back down the hill. The problem is we don't have anywhere for this cart to go. So we're going to build something. For that, we're going to take a block out here. And we're going to build a couple of tracks out. And then dig a hole. And to avoid burning some of this wool, going to break some of it. And then down there we're going to place a block of lava. And that's where we're going to send our carts. So by placing that there, and we need another torch to power this. So now what will happen when we load them, carts will come up here, and they'll just go straight across this turn. Link that up again. But then when they come back down, they'll come around, they'll hit this corner, and be redirected straight into our pit of lava. So let's give it a try. We're going to push this one back up the hill. Away it goes. And it's going to bounce back. And now that should have landed in the lava. Of course, I don't have a barrier here to stop it, so didn't quite work as planned. That will do. Now let's try that again. We'll go and load a cart over here. Manual cart loader. And away it goes up the hill. Bounces off the other cart, comes all the way down, and rolls straight into our pit of lava. So that's exactly what Grand Central Station does. And that is, to me, the easiest way to do overflow cart detection and cleaning up. So if somebody decides to sit here and try and load 150 carts, 10 or 12 of them or so will end up in the stack, and the rest will end up in the lava. So that should be pretty clear. The way this works, we have, when you stand on the pressure plate, this gets turned on. We have an inverter here, which is just a redstone torch on the other side of a block, which inverts the current. So over here where it's off, this is now on. And when we stand here and turn this current on, the inverter turns that off, withdrawing the piston. So pretty simple mechanism. And that's your manual cart loader and your overflow protection. So the stack here is built very much the same way. Almost identical, really. You've got your glass in front so you can see exactly how many carts are stacked up. At the back here you have a piston, and the piston is responsible for pushing one cart out from the bottom onto this track, where it is then delivered to the user. So we are going to request a cart and see that that works the same way as it does in the other station. cart gets pushed out and it lands, and this is where you would board it in Grand Central. And then the cart drops out. Now this is another way. This is empty cart detection here. So the cart drops out, and this is the exact same way you saw me drop out in Grand Central onto some other track and go up a hill. The hill here is just slightly too big for an empty cart to get up. It doesn't have enough momentum. But a full cart does. So if there's a rider in the cart, they'll make it up the hill and they'll get carried out down the track. But without a rider, the cart will roll backwards down the hill, hit this turn, and get carried back along the track, straight back into our cart stack. And in this case, that empty cart, if I were to add more, it would actually hit our overflow protection. So that's your basic way of keeping a cart stack maintained so that it's never overfull, and you should be able to keep jams off of the lines. So now we'll get in and hop in the cart and actually show you that the hill is small enough that in a full cart will get up. And there it goes. So as you can see, that's pretty much exactly the same. It has everything that Grand Central does. The only thing I haven't shown you is the destination selector. This works exactly the same way as well. That's a pretty simple premise. You have a toggle or an RS NOR latch for each track switch, each junction. So you've got a junction here, and you've got a junction here, and each one allows a different destination. You can split off onto the gray wool, or you can split off onto this blue wool. And what the buttons do, when you hit a button, I hit the blue one, now you'll see the track is switched and will now go this way if we get another cart. Same idea for the gray wool. It'll reset this one, so now you're going straight, and then set this one here, so you're headed off to the left. And the way that works is by taking all three signals out the back, and all three run along here, and at the end of this long wool piece, they're all combined into one signal. And no matter which one you hit, this will always turn on, and this is my reset line. So this will run to all of our different RS NOR latches or toggles. In this case there are only two, so you've got one here and one here. So no matter which button you hit, this always gets powered and it'll always reset both of these latches. Meaning that, and reset meaning that it'll go straight. So the cart will go straight across here, and it would reset this one as well to go straight that way. Once the reset is finished, then you have your other wire, say the blue one here, which is on a timer, so it'll happen after the reset, which then toggles this latch on. That way this junction would then switch. So you'll see that happen. The far one resets, and then this one sets. And that is the basis for destination selection with buttons. Grand Central has 8 destinations, and they all just add on exactly the same way. You just run another line, combine it to your reset line at the end here, and then run that color out to its own RS NOR latch, which is a simple 3x3 thing. You can make them smaller. And to a junction underneath the line. So I'm going to take all of this apart and then build all of the redstone wiring and show you how it all works. So here we are. I've removed all the redstone from this fake station, and I'm going to rewire it all up and show you step by step exactly how it's all done, because that seems to be the most complicated part. You know, just about anybody can build a hill and a cart stack. That's pretty simple. It's the wiring that a lot of people are a little unsure of. So we're going to start with the easiest one, just like we did before, the manual cart loader. And I've got it on a green circuit, or on a green wool. And without power, you can see it's already retracted. So we need to, by default, have this extended to cover it up like a drawer. So we're going to run some wire to power the piston, but because we need it inverted, and this will only power it when we stand on it, we need it powered all the time, we use our inverter, which is just a torch. And voila, done. Now when we stand on it, we get the opposite effect. That turns off, and the piston retracts. Next we'll go over to the request button, and this is the major complicated part of it, I suppose. And it's really not that bad. It's just one RS NOR latch. And for those who are not familiar with Redstone, an RS NOR latch is just a toggle. Think of it like turning a pressure plate into a lever that is either on or off. And by applying power to one block, you turn it on. By applying power to the other block, you turn it off. So we're going to run some power to it. And we're going to create the structure. Where I've got these black wool, that is a marker for one of these torches. The colored wool is the marker for wire. So this 3x3 little square here is your RS NOR latch. And when I apply power to it here, I've just turned it on. And this is my output that I'm concerned with. Now if I were to apply power to this one here, which I will do, I guess I need to break that, don't I? That would turn it off. And you can see now it's off by applying power to the second block. So if I apply power to the first block, it turns back on. Apply power to the second block, it turns off. That is an RS NOR latch, just like a lever. So I need that diode I broke now. So how we're going to turn this off, since it's on a pressure plate, there's no on-off on those, you can only turn it on. We're going to run a timer. And that way the timer here splits off from the main wire, and it's going to go around and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And when it comes back, it will turn off that RS NOR latch and toggle it off. And you can see that's exactly what happens, or exactly what these signs say. So we're going to hook this up, run a wire over here and split it. And it'll go all the way through all of these diodes, and over here to these other diodes, and all the way through these ones. And finally arrive here and power this side of the block. So now, stand on the plate, and you can see it's on, and that timer is going around. It's now at the other side coming back, and boom, it's off. So that is the basis of disabling this, really. It limits how often you can request a cart, because without this timer, if I turn this on, stand here, turn it on, it's on. And I cannot toggle it, I cannot turn it on again until it is off. So no matter how many times I try and get a cart, the status of this has not changed, and I will not get another cart. So the only way to get one is to have something turn it off. And with the timer turning it off, it limits how often I'm able to get a new cart. So you can adjust the length of this timer. All it is just a bunch of diodes, one after another. And by making that longer, you can increase the delay. I think each one is 4/10 of a second, set the way it is. But that allows you to prevent people from just walking across the button or pressing a button if you use that instead, and requesting cart after cart after cart after cart. So that is the simplest thing. The next thing we're going to hook up is the dispenser. And what we have over here is just a piston, and I showed you before, it'll push a cart out onto the track. So we're going to run that around. I've got a diode here, that way the repeater works, and the redstone works. Redstone has a limit of 15 meters, 15 blocks, and if you power 15 blocks in a row of redstone, it will lose current on the 16th. So I need a repeater every 15 blocks of redstone wire just to keep the current active. There's no other reason to have this here other than to keep the current alive. And normally you could run this underneath and save yourself a lot of space, but for the sake of the demo and the tutorial, it's all out in the open on this orange wool. So here we are, run a little more wire, and we've got another repeater here just for the sake of keeping the current alive. And we're going to run this into basically just an RS NOR latch again, but it's a very fast one. The timer, instead of being all the way out and around, is just one single diode. So the format is basically the same. You've got 2 blocks and 2 torches, and you hook up your wire this way. So that way when current comes in, it quickly goes through here, activates this, and very shortly after, 4/10 of a second later, it gets through this diode and turns it back off again. And that's exactly what we want in the case of the piston, simply because we want the piston to push out and withdraw very quickly for the next cart to drop down. This probably isn't necessary, but it is useful. Especially if it's linked to something like this pressure plate, where this could stay on for any amount of time, and then thus your piston would stay extended for a very long time. You want it to be retracted most of the time. So we'll hook it all the way up, and it runs into the side of the piston back here. And what you'll see will happen, I'm actually going to take this and power it. Just destroy those two. And when I power this, you see that only flashed on for a split second? So that's exactly what's happening. It's being powered, and then a split second later the diode turns it back off. That's one of my favorite little circuits. It's useful, especially for things like trapdoors or retracting a piston to let something drop through if you don't want it open for an indefinite amount of time. And now we can stand on this pressure plate and we can request a cart. But as you can see here, we don't have a landing pad. For the user to actually board the cart. It just drops straight down and goes straight back into our cart stack. So we need to wire that part up. And we have that over here. We've taken our output and we split it one direction, which goes to the dispenser. And we're splitting it the other direction. And we're going to take that through another one of these fast shut circuits, which limits how long that can be retracted for. And another timer delay over here, which waits for the cart to arrive and gives enough time for the user to get into the cart before it drops out. And it runs over here through an inverter, which then keeps this extended by default, just like we did over there. And that's about it. So we're going to go and hook this up. So here you have another fast shut circuit, but it's on apparently I'm needed. Be right back. Anyways, to continue where we left off, we were doing the wiring for the boarding platform. And I was just mentioning this here, which is a slower fast shut circuit. And it's only a little bit slower, 0.4 of a second more, with the second diode here. And all it does is just limit how long this piston can retract for. So that way it's mostly there waiting for carts. So we'll go through and wire this up. And we've got another timer here with a bunch more pistons. And I believe there are about 16 diodes here. All set for 0.4 of a second, the maximum time you can set a diode for. We run the wire over here. And we have an inverter again to keep the piston extended by default. And that way when we request a cart, the timer will actually cause it to retract and then extend again, as opposed to extend and retract. So that wires up that. And now if we stand here, everything should work as expected. Cart lands and waits for user to get in. And after a few seconds it drops. Our empty cart detection works, and this gets recycled back onto the top of the stack. So nice and handy, and that's really all there is to the wiring. We've got an RS NOR latch and a timer. Over here we have a fast shut circuit, which is basically just an RS NOR latch again. And another one over here, which is another quick RS NOR latch. And another timer. And that's it. So now we can request a cart and hop in. And because we have the momentum, we'll get over the hill and get carried down to whatever destination is currently selected. So now we need to wire up the destination selector, because currently these buttons do nothing. They are not wired up at all. So we've got 3 buttons, nothing happens. So we go back here and we run wires out. The reason the diodes are here are simply to stop the redstone from connecting. So by putting the diode there, this keeps the redstone separate, and we don't have any issues with cross signals. We'll run this all the way out here. And this diode here is just for the sake of the maximum redstone wire length, just to keep it repeating. The other two are not long enough to require one. And what we're running this wire out to is our combination here, where we're combining all three wires, and the reason we have a diode here is because diodes are directional. So when this comes through, so, say right here I decide to power this, this will power this wire, but it cannot travel backwards through the diode, so we do not get all of this wire powered as well. That would be not what we want. That could cause unexpected side effects, sorry. So we use the diode to ensure that the connection only goes one way and it will not travel backwards. We link these three, and this is, as I mentioned before, this is our reset. And we're going to run this into all of our RS NOR latches, or all of our destination selectors, in order to reset them. So no matter what we select as a destination, we'll always reset everything back to the default, which is to go straight ahead, and then set the junction that we want. So in this case, it fits right in the middle. It has one into this latch and one into this latch, and one is for the blue destination, one is for the gray destination. So our reset is wired up, and I'll show you now. Whenever we hit any button, you should see that light up. We hit that one, lights up. This one lights up as well, and that one lights up as well. So all three cause the reset to kick in. And these are our RS NOR latches, just like anything else, so I'm actually going to wire them up and power them and show you. Wire up the same as always. The black square here is where I'm putting my torches. And I'll do the same to this one over here. So that is wired. And we're going to run a little bit of power out from that one. So now these are on, and we're going to reset them so that they are, well, I believe that is the default state. There we go. So we select that one and it turns it off. And that is what we want. Now if I select the pink one, and in every case we're resetting them both to off. So we're not actually selecting anything yet, we're just turning them all off. So this is off as well. So now we need to run power to turn them back on with the destination. So I've got one here from the blue. We're just going to split off the signal this way. We're using these diodes here for two purposes. The first one, because there are three, we're using them as a timer. That way the reset kicks in first, turning it off, no matter what. And then this will kick in afterwards and turn this one on. The second reason is similar to over there. We need a one-way circuit. We don't want circuits traveling both directions and activating things by accident. So we run power in here. We power this one to turn it on, and power that one to turn it off with a reset. So now when I hit my destination selector for that should turn on. And if I hit it again, it turns off from the reset and then back on. And that's how the reset works. No matter what's selected, it's always turned off first and then back on. Now we're going to run our wire down underneath the track, and this is the nicest way that I can find to power these, or to have the junction switch, because there's nothing visible. You come down here and you place a redstone torch below it, and you run redstone wire into the block that the torch is resting on, and that applies power to the block above. So that way you can bury this and nobody will ever see it. You could put a wall along here, have no problems, nobody would ever know there's wire running underneath. It's a lot nicer than running in a straight wire from the side that everyone can see, break, whatever they want. So here we select the straight destination, we go straight along, and you can see that's been turned off. And if we select the blue destination, this is switched and will now get taken out to the right. So that is the first of our two destinations, well actually three, because the one destination, the pink one here, is just reset everything and go straight. So it's kind of a cheater destination really. You don't have to do any work for that one. So the other one here will wire up the same way. And these are down here for the exact same reason as the blue one. Delay just long enough to make sure the reset happens first. And it's also for direction, to make sure the circuit doesn't travel unintendedly backwards. So we run the wire here. And here we have an interesting little setup. This is the way to get wire to travel straight down. You bring the wire from the side, you can see it hooks onto this torch. And then from the torch will actually power this redstone wire here. And the reason that works is because redstone wire is a block like any other, even though it's only very short. So it technically fills this entire space where there would normally be a full-size block. And the torch powers the block below it. So by powering this block here, it's powering this redstone, since the redstone technically takes up that entire space. And then from there, we run it into an inverter, simply because this torch here inverts the signal, so we're inverting it back to the one we want, which is off by default. So there's all three hooked up. We're going to hit the center destination, which just simply resets everything. And you can see you'll skip straight across this, skip straight across... Oh, you won't. Okay, I did something wrong. Ah, yes. I forgot to actually wire up that. So we're going to run the wire down to the actual junction itself. And we'll place our torch again. Now you can see that we're going to go straight. So we'll hit our blue destination. And this will change. Hit our center destination, and that changes back. Or we can go from blue straight to the gray destination, and this will reset, and then that will set. And now we'd end up going this way. So that's all of it. You have a reset line and you have an RS NOR latch for each destination. The reset line has to run to all of your latches to reset them all, and it has to be done first. Following which the signal can set your RS NOR latch and change the junction to make you go the direction you want to go. From there, you just add them on the same way. Create more of those, and Grand Central has 8 of them, and they all work exactly the same way. The challenge is to hide the wire. It takes up a lot of space. And I'm sure some of you are much better at hiding wire than I am. In fact, I could have done this much cleaner, but this is a typical example of what you'll have to do. Drop down, and then run below wires, and then come up on the other side of them, so you're not crossing signals. So now we can go and select our destination. We'll select blue, and then we'll go and request our cart. Timer goes around, latch is opened, we're waiting on platform. We can go up and hop in our cart, and we're carried down to blue. Do the same thing with the other destination. Select gray, tracks change, and now we can go and get ourselves another cart. And that's all there is to it. You've now learned how to build Grand Central Station as it stands right now.